economic warning bells are going off. Who predicted this? Basically everybody. The government shutdown is now the third longest in history, and it could end up getting even longer. What's going on in Ukraine? Why did Donald Trump say he was going to help Ukraine and then all of a sudden back off? And what's this text chain thing that was going on? The Nazi-ish text chain. Well, let's talk about all that. Hey, I'm Adam Kinzinger. I was a U.S. congressman for 12 years, an Air Force pilot for 22, and this is your weekend review. Now, listen, be sure to hit like and subscribe so you can see this video and all the other videos we put out every week. A quick announcement. If you notice on my YouTube page, there is a preview for a documentary called The Last Republican. This was a documentary that actually followed me around during all of the January 6th timeframe. It got rave reviews. I have no ownership interest in it. I was just the subject of it. Got really good reviews, and now it's getting ready to come out end of October, very beginning of November. So on my channel, watch the documentary preview, and then I'll give you more information when it becomes available. It'll actually be very soon that we'll find out. So let's talk about what happened this week. First off, we got an economic warning that tariffs are really starting to hurt small business. Now, this isn't really a surprise to anybody that knows how the economy works. You have to raise prices. That causes inflation. It also causes businesses to have to cut services or cut personnel, cut people. They sell less stuff because Americans pay these tariff prices. So this is not a surprise, but it's happening. Everything that was predicted. Delayed growth in companies. Companies are taking on debt. In fact, analysts are saying that importers averaged over $90,000 in tariff costs, much of which they had absorbed or the American people had to pay. So then all of a sudden we have this money coming in from tariffs that you and I are paying. What are we going to do with it? Well, China basically cut off buying American soybeans as a way to kind of fire back at the tariffs. And so the soybean producers are in a really bad shape right now. Donald Trump has decided with the tariff money to bail them out, to give them money. Money that is there because we damaged it. Anyway, you get that. Now, of course, the rest of the money, though, it's going to be great. It's going to go to put out the debt and deficit, right? Oh, nope, because the first thing we have to do is bail out Argentina. Wait, where did that come from? I thought we were America first. Nope. Donald Trump has made a decision that he will spend $20 billion, with a B, by the way, that's your money, to bail out Argentina. When he was asked about it, what did he say? Did he say, well, because it's in America's interest that Argentina succeeds? Yeah, normal president would say that. Instead, he said he likes the president's political philosophy. So all because the president of Argentina, who's very libertarian, very pro-Trump, is in a really bad place, Donald Trump, because he likes Trump, is going to spend $20 billion of your money to bail him out. Now, let's also talk very briefly about all of the crazy corruption going on with the Trump administration, including yesterday, a hot mic, a leaked audio where the president of Indonesia was talking to the President Trump and mentioned his son and these projects that Trump has. Listen, it is essential that the president of the United States remove himself from any business dealings, and he hasn't. He has so mixed his personal profit in with American foreign policy. You see that in Qatar with the Qatar jet that they gave us for free. The fact that we have now given Qatar basically the same protections that we give to our NATO allies. Why? Because they're buying out Donald Trump. This is the moment we live in. Let's not normalize it. And let's remember that in 3 years, when there's a new president, we have to hold people accountable that we're corrupt. We can't just let that go. By the way, before I go on, I want to remind you all about my new venture called Wear Them Out. WearThemOutProducts.com. W-E-A-R, themoutproducts.com. It's a lot of cool new stuff. Stuff that really shows people what you have to say that's different than all the other things. For instance, one that says 3 branches, no kings. There's some good stuff that's very pro-Ukraine. My personal favorite is Democracy Hawk. Go take a look at it. Love to have your business if you're interested, but at least go take a look. Again, that is wearthemoutproducts.com. Now let's go on. What's coming up? A huge protest, the No Kings protest. This is going to be a lot of Americans taking to the streets, making it clear that we believe in democracy. And it's scaring Donald Trump and the Republicans to death because they are saying, Speaker Johnson, in fact, recently said this is the We Hate America protest, or this is the protest that is funded by communists or George Soros, right? No, actually, it's just protest of Americans who want to exercise First Amendment rights because they're not happy with what's going on. It's scaring Republicans because they know that when people take to the streets and they do so peacefully, very important to remember that, if they do so peacefully, it sends a very strong message. If you think back to the civil rights era, what were the most effective things that were done to give Black people the rights they deserve? Well, there were militant Black groups, and then there were peaceful Black groups that did peaceful resistance. Martin Luther King Jr. comes to mind. That is the most effective way. When you show people that you don't intend violence, but you are dissatisfied, that is how you win over the American people. That's what the No Kings protest is. And it's not the last one either. Now, I'm excited to see what this turns into, so I hope you get to go. I'd be curious in the comments, are you planning to go? And after this is done, come back, put in the comments how it was or what you thought. Now let's go on to another big, really nasty story. JD Vance downplayed a young Republican chat message. Now, chat messages. This group of leaders of young Republicans had this chat message on Telegram, I believe, this chat log, and where they were joking about killing Jews. Well, I say joking. They were talking about killing Jews. They were, the leader of it said, "I love Hitler." If you read it, I'm not even doing justice to how bad it is. JD Vance came out and said, hey, they're just boys. Let boys be boys. Now, here's a point I want to make. Young Republicans, and I fall into this too, it sounds like it's a group of just kids, right? Young Republicans. Here's the truth of young Republicans. To be a member, the age requirements are 18 to 40. Not really that young. Young Republicans. There are teenage Republicans. Those are teenagers, obviously. College Republicans. Those are people in college. And young Republicans all the way up to the age of 40. In fact, the guy that said, quote, "I love Hitler," 31 years old. Now, I was running for Congress when I was 31 years old. To say they're just kids, let boys be boys, is just not true. JD Vance is trying to take advantage of the fact that most people don't know the age requirements of young Republicans and they assume they're just kids. Look, 13-year-old kids have stupid text messages. I wouldn't be super outraged about that, but that's not the case here. The sad thing about this is that JD Vance is defending it. Defending this pure, disgusting garbage instead of saying it was wrong. I don't know. Let's not normalize this, though, guys. This is completely disgusting. Now, the government is still shut down. It doesn't really feel all that crazy right now because I think, frankly, we're so used to dysfunction now that a government shutdown just seems like par for the course. And that's what we're looking at. We're now the third largest shutdown in American history. Very likely, if this ends up becoming the longest government shutdown in history. And what are the Republicans in the House doing? Are they working really hard to make sure they reopen government because they control it, by the way? They control the Senate, the House, and the presidency. Are they talking to Democrats to see what is it that we need to do to get through this? Nope. Speaker Johnson gave them another week off. Man, listen, could you imagine getting paid $174,000 a year and only having to work like 1 week out of 3 months? That's great. These guys are on vacation, literal vacation in many cases. Why aren't they doing town hall meetings? I mean, they have the time because they're scared to death of you. Well, so let's see what happens with this shutdown. It's going to probably drag on for a while. John Bolton, by the way, was indicted. I don't have a lot to say about this. You can read the indictment. Is there any there? Maybe. But what is clear is that he was attacked because the president doesn't like him. This came along the same time that James Comey and Letitia James were also indicted clearly because Donald Trump told the DOJ to do it. Now, it is highly illegal to prosecute somebody based on revenge or simply disliking them. And so I think a significant number of these cases will be thrown out because they'll be able to prove that. I don't know if you know this, but Donald Trump accidentally tweeted what should have been a direct message telling Pam Bondi, the attorney general, to prosecute these people by name. 2 weeks later, they were prosecuted. It's very clear. It's wrong, and that's not how this should operate in this country, how we should operate in this country. Hegseth at the Department of Defense basically has kicked out all the reporters. He wanted them to swear that the only thing they would report is what he approved. And if they didn't agree to that, they would lose their press credentials in the Pentagon. Well, let me give the media some real credit here. Every single news organization, with the exception of One America News, who is basically this insane, whatever Donald Trump wants, we do, every one of them refused. And so they were all kicked out of the Pentagon. We have a First Amendment in this country. We have a right. Now, if something's classified, sure, the press should not report it. But everything else, fair game. This is an attempt of Pete Hegseth to control things. Why? Because he's paranoid. Why? Because he's the biggest leaker in DOD. Do you remember the Signal chat thing with him? And he's paranoid that people are leaking against him, so he kicks out all of the media. To the media's credit, they said, we're not playing that game. Even Newsmax, even Fox News would not sign on to that. So I commend all of those organizations. We'll see if the Department of Defense keeps it like this or if they reverse course. At the same time, by the way, we are bombing boats leaving Venezuela. There's discussion that we're going to engage in potential regime change in Venezuela. And so the media should have a right to get information to the American people. We need that information. Congress needs the information. Congress needs to approve this stuff. But we'll see. I hate Maduro. I would love to see Maduro, the president of Venezuela, gone because he stole the job. But if we're going to do that, we need to know that it's being done for the right reason, that it's being done with care, and that it's being done legally. Two more quick things. First off, Donald Trump is planning to build a giant arch in Washington, D.C. Not like this arch in St. Louis, but like the arch you think of in like Paris. Now, some people will say he's doing that because it's the 250th anniversary of America. Now, if there was a proposal to do a cool big arch in honoring America being 250 years old, and it was approved by Congress in a bipartisan way, I might be open to it. Instead, Donald Trump's just planning to do it. And when asked why or what it would commemorate, he didn't say the 250th anniversary of America. He said, me. It would commemorate me. Do you think the Republicans in Congress are going to push back against that? Of course not, because Congress is so weak. Look, when the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, they always assumed, I think, that a guy like Donald Trump would come along. They knew it. That's a lot of power. What they never assumed was that Congress would willingly give up its own power, as it has done. That's what's shameful. Lastly, let's talk about Ukraine. Donald Trump today met with Zelensky. The expectation coming in today's meeting was that the U.S. would sell Ukraine Tomahawk cruise missiles, very effective weapons that could be used against Russia, in Russia, with a range of 1,500 miles, very long. Cruise missiles actually fly very low to the earth, so they're hard to track, impossible, frankly, to track by radar. They go about the speed of a jet airliner, and they actually have a jet engine on them. Instead, Russia, who's very scared of these Tomahawk cruise missiles, Putin gave Trump a call yesterday and said, hey, let's meet. And do you think Donald Trump said, no, we're not going to meet. We met already in Alaska. I gave you an opportunity. Now you have to pay the price. No. Donald Trump said, yes. And he put out a tweet that said, Putin congratulated me. He was nice to me. We're going to meet. he plays right into Putin's hands again. No tomahawks yet to Ukraine. Now, let me ask you a question. In 2 weeks or whatever, when he does meet with Putin, and ultimately the war still goes on and Putin kisses his butt, but nothing happens, does Donald Trump get angry and then release the tomahawks and do more sanctions? Maybe. Or does he once again taco and give 2 more weeks? I think I have a prediction. Curious what you think in the comments. That's not all the news that happened this week, but that's a lot of it. Thank you for tuning in. Again, remember to hit like, to subscribe. We do this every week. And check out wearthemoutproducts.com. I think you'll like it. Take care. Have a nice weekend.